Welcome to Day 8 and the start of a new week here on NeoBlisseyX versus the MGM Studios 31-Day Movie Challenge. Today's category is a movie from the 80s. Because I chose many of the heavy hitters of my collection from that decade for later categories in this series, I have chosen a relatively lesser-known film for today. Let's talk about that movie as the challenge continues. Originally released in U.S. theaters on May 2nd, 1986, following releases the previous year in Hong Kong and Italy, No Retreat, No Surrender follows a young karate student who, after moving to Seattle to escape a criminal syndicate seeking to take over all the karate schools in the U.S., learns from the spirit of legendary martial artist Bruce Lee and uses that knowledge in a final battle with the syndicate's hired gun. This film features an early movie acting appearance from another legendary martial arts movie star, Jean-Claude Van Damme, as Ivan the Russian Krasinski, the Soviet-born hired gun of the criminal syndicate. Since there is no need for a Starfleet cinema segment, as there are no Star Trek talent contributions that I could discover in my research, let me tell you a little story about why I chose this film for this category. No Retreat, No Surrender was a major part of my life growing up. Seeing a young martial artist learn to be the best from the spirit of one of the greatest of all time was a fascinating idea. And to see that martial artist use that knowledge to take out the man who injured his father in a criminal incident really made me feel something in there. But as time wore on, and the company that distributed this film, New World Pictures, went out of business in 1997, I thought I would never see this movie again. But then comes along a company called Kino Lorber Studio Classics, who released a Blu-ray of this film. But then, that Blu-ray also came with it a revelation. An entire alternate version of this film. Now, growing up, I was only familiar with the US theatrical release. So to see this alternate cut that ran 9 minutes longer and had completely different music than that which I was used to. Well, while I still watch the US version more than anything, as that was the version I grew up with, I still watch the international cut sometimes for a little change of pace. Just a moment. Forgot to mute my phone. Where was I? Ah, yes, of course. That Kino Lorber Blu-ray, like I said, was a bit of a revelation. As like I said, I had grown up only knowing the US theatrical release cut. So to see this alternate cut that, like I said, ran 9 minutes longer than the US version and contained music completely different than that which I was used to, I was blown away by that idea. And while I still watch the US version more than the international version, because that was the one I grew up with, I still watch that international cut to see the differences in the film. For example, the ending song, which we know here in the United States as Stand on Your Own, was replaced by a different song called Hold On to the Vision. And like I said, I prefer the US version more because that was the one I grew up on. But regardless of whichever version you decide to watch, if you love 1980s cheesy action cinema, martial arts in particular, then you cannot go wrong with No Retreat, No Surrender. Tomorrow on NeoBlisseyX versus the MGM Studios 31-Day Movie Challenge, it's Day 9, a movie with a person's name in the title. Until tomorrow, Take care and live long and prosper.